All right, let's run it. Looks like we're here. Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noise Era, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer, and this is show number 1524, season 15, episode 24. And I have titled this episode, Satanic Ritual Abuse, Brain Dead Billions, and History's Actors. We're going to be having a visit from Russ Dizdar. May he rest in peace. He's gone to be with the Lord. We're going to be featuring a pretty powerful segment of Russ Dizdar later on in the show, where he just talks about the satanic infiltration of society, how intense things really have become. We're also going to be speed running some of our 2018 content, mainstream Satanism, and basically featuring this police chief's daughter, Courtney Tapney, talking about how, she was a part of ritualistic, satanic ritual abuse. And we've talked about this in the past. We've played it in the past, but I think that it's important to kind of bring it up now, given the fact that all this content's coming out and all this fake news and propaganda is coming out with Jeffrey Epstein. I think we should really just kind of cut to the core of like what it all is, what's really in the client list, what it all actually pertains to. And what you would do if you had millions of dollars. What would you do? Would you control people after you've done as many different drugs and drinking as much as you can and have as many different properties and assets as you have? Eventually, you're gonna want to control people. We're gonna be talking about some pretty crazy things in this week's podcast episode. We've got people coming out talking about how the global experimentation has affected millions of people's cognitive performance, and this isn't the cognitive bankruptcy that we talk about with people experiencing with the usage of ChatGPT. This happened this week as well. You've got Elon Musk, the man that tells people to go out there and go have kids, providing basically kids with gooner bait material with this new XAI Grok companion, Annie and Bad Rudy and whatever the boy's name is. And we're going to begin to see that, right? These personalities that they project onto these devices to help entrance people even more. The techno sorcery. We have a lot of different things to talk about, guys. And you may notice this as you're hearing me talk, right? Just this kind of different tone, because I'm looking at our 2018 content. I'm looking at how far we've come. The aesthetics, the content, the delivery, the reality, the consistency, and it is impressive. I don't think we take the time to really appreciate it. I'll say this and I'll jump into the updates. We've been uploading the intros into the shows, the intros and the honorable mentions to YouTube, and we found out that we now have two, youtube.com/user/noise-era, as well as a backup one that will be dropping inside the YouTube link. It's got 2,000 followers on one and 1,400 on the other. And I'm pretty sure there's probably another one out there. But if you're watching or listening, you can go see the full episode over there on Rumble or listen to it on your major podcasting provider. The point I'm trying to make is we started uploading these intros and honorable mentions into YouTube, and somebody had commented on one of our channels from back then, so glad to hear you. You give great commentary, and that sent me spiraling. because I say, oh, we've been doing it for 15 seasons. We've been tracking these people forever. It's not about like us. It really is about like the audience. It really is about like this network that we've been able to kind of build over time, and this community that we really need to do a better job of stewarding. And the lives that we've impacted along the way. And it just trips me out, man. Because here we are. You've got, Satanists out here. You've got transgender pedophiles out here. You've got people getting brain chips, augmentations. Like it's crazy. It really is kind of crazy when you think about the consistent, like just escalation of intensity of content that we cover. And it's not me trying to be sensational. It's just the time frame that we're in. I mean, my God, it's season 20. It's season 15, episode 20, or season 15, in the year 2025. Can you imagine if we're able to get to season 25, what the world will look like, right? We really will be dealing with actual cyborgs. We will be dealing, with proper transhumans, individuals that have actually spliced their genes. We'll be dealing with robots. We'll be dealing with it all, man. Lord willing, if I'm able to see like another 10 years and the world doesn't blow up, or we're not sucked into a void, or CERN doesn't open up like a portal and consume all of us. Praise God Almighty. If we're able to sit here and see this stuff, which is what we intend to do, we're going to see some pretty amazing things. And so, I'm coming in a little bit different this week because I'm really, really feeling some type of way. I hope you guys feel it. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the intro, the updates, and then we'll kick this piggy off with the honorable mentions and things like that. If you guys want to support this operation, the best way to do so is go to patreon.com/noise. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support this operation. You can get access to over 500 plus episodes. And I want you guys to think about that, right? Because we just recovered our YouTube channels from 2014. And the last episodes that we uploaded were like 7 years ago, right? Which means we've been platform hopping, still doing this work, trying to provide relative content. And this is at the same time as earlier this year, Blog Talk Radio deleting that archive. Patreon.com/noise. That's the best way to support this operation. Like I said, you get access to over 500 different episodes. You can also support us by breaking the algorithms or increasing our algorithms on our rankings on these different platforms. Hit like, hit share, subscribe, get us out there, drop a comment, say, this N-word is crazy, right? You can do whatever you want, but patreon.com/noise, that's the best way to support this operation. Jump inside the Discord, come say good morning, GMGM. Check out our Telegram. We have 2 of them. We've got one that has been able to survive the censorship onslaught, the blacklisting, the shadow ban that they put us into. You guys can find the links for that as well in the description bar below. Like I said, the YouTube channels that we were able to recover from 2014, the Noise Era one, and the backup. And again, check out our Discord, check out our Telegram, check out our socials. I think that's just like the easiest way to say it. Check out our socials. We're all over the place. Even in the ways they've tried to delete us, we've left our mark on history. You can support us through ko-fi.com, PayPal, Patreon, Cash App, and more. Find the links for that in the description bar below, as well as getting yourself some New Leaf Naturals CBD oil. They're one of our longest suppliers, one of our longest known supporters. We really appreciate them and the work that they've done with us, carrying us. What's crazy is when we had that little bit of a, impromptu sabbatical a few years back, it was really CBD. It was really the CBD oil and a couple of our exclusive members that kept us going, and we really were able to achieve a lot. And I think what was wild is we've transformed, right? We've leveled up in more ways than one, and I think people can see it, they can feel it, and that's a part of this growth, man. Like I'm sitting here thinking to myself, here we are, the 15th season, so much farther to go. And every successive season is like a different version of the same me. I think that's probably why all of us Whovians, us nerds, appreciate things like Doctor Who, because we're still the same person, just different iterations and different versions. But again, you guys can find the links for all the different ways and more to support us in the description bar below. I'm pontificating, getting ahead of myself. We have a lot of different things to talk to you guys about. Some of it will be speed ran through. Some of it will be slowly enjoyed and slow cooked. But ultimately, we're going to be right there with you guys as it all unfolds. With that being said, let's go ahead and pick the world of science to start this show. Like it's just again, this is after we've been dealing with Texas flooding, Oklahoma, New Mexico. You know, we've got video clips of Idaho, like cracks opening up. They're miles wide. That's what you see happening in the thumbnail background. It's like we have all this stuff going on in the world right now. The literal earth itself is cracking, groaning, manipulated weather, all these different things and more. Let's go ahead and play this, and then we'll pick it up from there. Intense avalanches in Venezuela. Rare aerial phenomena in Thailand on the 15th of July. Utah, here in America, on the 13th of July, having entire mountains or entire forests ablaze. Mesa County, Colorado, as well, experiencing entire forests and hillsides with fire. Jalisco, Mexico, on the 15th of July, experiencing severe flooding. Capable of carrying cars down the street. Wind columns in Cartagena, Colombia on the 13th of July. Cottage was absolutely wrecked. Absolutely wrecked that cottage was. But I mean, the world of science, ladies and gentlemen. This is all going on in the background, right? Like, look at this. The Reykjanes Peninsula in Iceland just spewing volcanic like magma into the sky. Like, think about how tall those columns are as they're just like jettisoning molten magma, molten lava, just out there. That's intense. That's intense. And like I said, we've got to get to Idaho showing huge cracks stretching for miles. This is all going on. The earth groaning. Nations literally and figuratively splitting in half. And the gates of hell opening up with them, bringing forth something from underground, something that was never meant to see the light of day, something that was never meant to be here on the surface with us. Look at this, floods all over the place. And as we saw just last week with floods in strange places, none of this is by accident. It's all orchestrated, all manipulated. Our modified environment is becoming unstable. We jacked with things left and right. Elon Musk with his boring tunnels, creating like all these holes underground, earthquake weapons, silver iodide, geoengineering, stratospheric aerosol injections, all of these different things. We've jacked with our environment so much that it's now becoming unstable. And we're going to see more and more of this instability as we proceed forward. Here's a mainstream media report on cloud seeding, if you're still not too sure on modification and weather modification and geoengineering and things of this nature.
What if a laser...
If you could fire a laser at the sky and make it rain? Oh, that sounds more interesting. Dave Malkoff explains.
Just another stormy, wet afternoon in Central Florida. But what if you could pick up all this rain and move it where it's needed? Texas or California? What if a laser could start the rain?
So you can almost use it to set it off.
Matt Mills got into lasers as a kid.
It's just innately cool.
Now he's part of a team of scientists and military backers on the cutting edge of a new technology, making lasers powerful enough to reach up here into the sky where a thunderstorm is just about to start. In the near future, a push-button storm starter could be a real thing.
Just imagining this situation. If there was a rain cloud that was going to pass over an area of drought and not rain, you could, theoretically induce the rain and get the rain where it's needed.
That storm starter isn't the laser beam itself, but rather a popping energy that comes off of much higher power beams than this one. The problem is those pops have always had trouble getting into the sky. Now Matt has discovered a way to get the laser to pop all the way in the clouds. In theory, that's what starts a storm. We created a cloud of our own behind Matt's lab. A few months ago, Matt's colleagues in Arizona got this working experimentally. The next step is to get it to work in the sky.
The particles in the air are rubbing together, forming static electricity, and the conditions are now right, and they just need to be triggered now.
Does this concern you that you may be messing with Mother Nature and doing something that you don't completely understand up here in the cloud?
I mean, I suppose that's always a danger, but we're not even near to the case where it could be dangerous yet, so not too much.
It's almost like an on-off switch for a thunderstorm.
That's the idea behind it.
Right here in the cloud.
Yep.
In Orlando, Dave Malkoff, The Weather Channel.
Be safe out there, Dave. Try to stay cool. Try to stay warm. They have people starting storms with lasers. And that sounds cool, doesn't it? Right? It does sound cool. But this is what I mean by the scientific dictatorship. This is what we mean about the technocracy, the globalists, that breakaway civilization. This guy over here, he probably has no idea that he's, just compartmentalized and working on this component of it. And that's, again, why we talk about the different arrays and forms of weather modification, geoengineering, stratospheric aerosol injection, cloud seeding, right? Because they're all one and the same. But as this guy's over here jacking with this, using these lasers, who else is using lasers? Does he know? We might not be affecting what we think of as the natural harmony or rhythm of the planet. We just think it's cool. But we have no idea what we're doing. Again, to ourselves, to the environment, and to future generations. Because there will have to come a point where things have to reach equilibrium, stasis, stability. But that's not where we're at. No, we're in a great time of destabilization and chaos and more. Florida cracks down on chemtrails. Airports must report planes, pilots, and operations. This comes from the People's Voices by Baxter Beatrice. They put this up July 15th. It says that beginning in October, Florida's public airports will be legally required to file monthly reports detailing any aircraft, pilot, or operations involved in weather modification, including those associated with the chemtrail-related activity or face the loss of state funding under a new law. Airports that fail to comply with the new reporting requirements risk losing access to state funding, while pilots and operators caught dispersing unauthorized substances into the atmosphere could face felony charges and substantial fines. Penalties that Florida officials say underscore the gravity of the threat posed by covert weather modification. Signed by Governor Ron DeSantis in June, the law prohibits the release of any substances into the atmosphere for the purpose of altering weather, temperature, climate, or sunlight intensity. Under the statute, airports must identify any aircraft, quote, equipped with devices or components that release substances or chemicals for those purposes and submit records to related flights and personnel to the Florida Department of Transportation. It says that the Florida Department of Environmental Protection is also launching a public portal to report suspected violations, adding an enforcement layer, supporters say, is long overdue. Let's go ahead and pause right there. I think that's everything we need to kind of move forward. I hope we see more of it. We've got our article coming up about how RFK Jr. says he's going to arrest Bill Gates. That's more red meat, but it's more of this. Like, see here, it is over here in the corner. You guys can see it if you're watching. RFK vows to arrest Bill Gates for orchestrating devastating U.S. floods via chemtrails. That's red meat. It'll never happen. But it's good that we're beginning to have this public discussion of what's going on with our environment. No, those aren't just regular clouds. No, those aren't just streaks in the sky. That's not normal. Stop trying to normalize poison and destabilization and evil and wickedness. We're not going to arrest Bill Gates, but we're going to begin to have this discussion about purification of self, purification of the environment, persecution of these people, right? And looking at the problem itself. So a lot of different things will come with this. Ultimately, I'm happy. This is bullish. This is the stuff I want to see. But I'd also like to see some people swinging from rope because of this. Because, it's not like people get contracts for this. Just last week, we talked about this. showed you Augustus Doricko getting in front of the flood talk, basically being the front man. Kid had no idea what he signed up for, taking all that negative press, but at the same time popularizing and publicizing the idea of weather modification and geoengineering. He may not be involved in it at any level. He might just be a front man. But what we're seeing again is this broader narrative of organized societal manipulation. Anyway, let's go ahead and move forward. Here's that article I was just talking about. RFK Jr. vows to arrest Bill Gates for orchestrating devastating U.S. floods via chemtrails. Again, another one by Baxter Dimitri. They put this up July 15th. We'll see. It says that the Texas floods weren't an act of God. They were an act of war. RFK Jr.'s chemtrail task force, now operating deep inside the belly of the beast, has uncovered what the media won't touch. The devastating storms slamming Texas were engineered. And the names behind it, all too familiar. Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, the Clinton Foundation, their funding, their tech, their fingerprints, all over the crime scene. Again, this is what we covered with you guys just last week. Sorry about that. We went over this. That's on the thumbnail. Augustus Doricko shanking hands with Bill Clinton, having $100,000 from Peter Thiel, right? And then he gets up there and has the gall to say that, we're doing cloud seeding, but not that type, even though they had the documents that showed he did it 2 days prior. And so they're just out here lying, bold-faced to you, telling you. And so that's why shows like ours exist. That's why operations like this exist, because we're not seeing the lies. We can see the breadcrumbs, the trails. Getting back in the article so we can move forward, they say it's just bad weather, just coincidence. But the task force has compiled the evidence, satellite data, flight logs, whistleblower testimony, and it all points to one conclusion. This was weather warfare. Texas was targeted, but it refuses to kneel. And now RFK Jr. says he has what he needs to finally do what he's promised for years: arrest Bill Gates. This isn't about policy. It's about crimes against humanity. RFK Jr. has never hidden his mission to take down the global health elite. Long before stepping into government, he pulled back the curtain on Anthony Fauci with his explosive bestseller, The Real Anthony Fauci, a book that exposed decades of corruption, pharmaceutical collusion, and crimes against the public. It sold millions, and Fauci never sued. That silence speaks volumes. But RFK Jr. didn't stop there. During his presidential campaign, he made it clear his sights were set on Bill Gates. He vowed to bring Gates to trial in the United States, exposing the ties between Gates-funded programs and the broader globalist agenda. Now, as head of the chemtrail task force, RFK Jr. says that he has evidence to move from words to action and arrest Gates for crimes not just against America, but against humanity. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and pause right there and move forward. Again, red meat. Bill Gates has too much money to be arrested. Some of his cronies, his companies, and lackeys maybe, but ultimately, he's the face of so much, right? That's how he can give away his money. That's why he stepped down from Microsoft, because he can fall underneath this banner of philanthropy and get away with so much. Yeah, he won't get arrested. His operations may be shut down, but they'll just be reconfigured in different ways to address different stages of the problem. The same way that Pfizer acquired Seagen, an oncology company, to study the blood of the people who had received the global experimentation. And now we see what's going on with that. They may shut it down at one step, but later on down the trough, there's a different component to which they can maximize impact. And that's what's going on right now. That's what I'm saying. Like, our modified environment is becoming unstable. Bill Gates can so-called stop these weather modification programs because things are done now, and they can come from a different angle of it. You see, because as we enter into this event horizon and that trumpeting, that flipping, that inversion, that's why you now have people advocating for weather modification. You see, that's why you have people like Augustus Doricko, Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, Bill Clinton, all stepping into this arena. Very, very disturbing. Let's go ahead and move forward to some crazy videos coming out of China right now. Absolutely crazy, because we're still talking about our modified environment and these strange and anomalous weather patterns that we're experiencing. Look at some of the chaos experienced in China right now with heat waves, melting scooters, police cars burning, floods drowning historic towns. All this over here on China Undercover on YouTube.
Woman, this is killing me. A power outage on such a hot day. Man, in this scorching heat, if you have air conditioning, use it. If not, turn on a fan. Don't let yourself get heat stroke. It's better to give your money to the power company than to the hospital, because one bill, he likely means a 100 yuan note, can last several days with electricity, but one hospital visit will cost you several bills. Man, 8 people in a dorm room, a campus of 100 acres. Where can you find a cool spot? I tell myself to stay calm and you'll feel cool. But walking into the dorm feels like stepping into a sauna. I bet this summer will last even longer. Recently, many parts of China have been experiencing extremely hot weather. Man, people keep asking if it's hot in Henan. Look at this. You tell me, is it hot or not? Even electric scooters are melting in the sun. Man, let me show you how hot it really is. This is corn. He rubs it a few times on the concrete ground and it pops. See that? It just turned into popcorn. Still think it's not hot enough? Some poultry farmers are also trying to cool their chickens down. Man, the outdoor temperature is 40.5 degrees, 105 degrees. We hauled in a truckload of ice blocks to cool the chicken coop. Chicks, feeling better now? While people are already suffering, another consequence of the extreme heat has hit: power outages. The weather is already unbearably hot, but a sudden power outage can seriously disrupt daily life. In Zibo City, Shandong Province, one residential complex lost power. Woman, on a day this hot, the Sakura Garden residential complex in Zhangdian, Zibo had a blackout. Did your neighborhood lose power too? Even the elevators are out. How are we supposed to climb 20 floors? It sounds like a joke, but when the power goes out, residents really do have to climb the stairs. Woman, the power's out in our building. Oh my God, I'm exhausted from climbing stairs. And I've only made it to the 6th floor. Gotta keep going. Getting married is one of the 4 great joys in life. But if there's a power outage at your wedding, it can be incredibly frustrating. Woman, friends, I'm getting married today, and the hotel hosting the wedding just lost power. It's already been over an hour, and the afternoon's about to begin. No one knows when the electricity will come back. This is such a disaster.
Okay, I think that's a good place to go ahead and let some B-roll play. Yeah, so we're playing this because we can see, again, anomalous occurring all over the world. Earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, volcanoes. I might begin to feature more content from this channel, China Undercover, where it shows you again what's going on over there in China. I mean, you're seeing eggs pop, you're seeing kernels, you're seeing corn pop, you're seeing cars explode, from extreme heat waves. And this will come to America in one way, shape, and form. This is, again, just anomalous and strange weather that's just intensifying. None of this is normal. But over here, we're experiencing floods. Over there, they're experiencing floods, extreme heats. This is intense. But again, this is what happens when you modify the environment. With society already being as delicate as it is. And keep this in mind: heat waves, melting scooters, police cars burning, floods drowning historic towns, mud flood type behavior, things of this nature. Like it's just wild to think that this is all going on simultaneously in the background. World Economic Forum controlled Netherlands begins severely rationing electricity to prevent what they call global boiling. This comes from the People's Voice. It's by Sean. They put this up. Sean out of the lobby. They put this up July 15th. It says that the WEF controlled Netherlands has begun severely rationing electricity supplies in a desperate bid to prevent what global elites dub global boiling, enforcing draconian limits amid the fallout from unreliable green technologies and a reckless push towards net zero goals. This ultra-liberal kingdom, deeply invested in woke climate agendas, is now facing the power shortages it sowed, highlighting a broader crisis of energy instability engineered by top-down control. Around the world, the rush to adopt unproven power-generating methods has plunged nations into deep supply troubles, with blackouts already striking Spain, Portugal, and parts of France 2 months ago. In the Netherlands, this self-inflicted scarcity underscores the ruinous policies that prioritize ideological virtue signaling over reliable energy, leaving citizens to bear the brunt of intermittent blackouts and escalating costs. The GatewayPlanet.com reports that their overload power grid can't take the pressure of rapid electrification and ambitious climate goals, aka the Church of Climate Change policies. The Daily Mail reported that, quote, more than 11,900 businesses are stuck in a queue for access to the network, alongside public buildings, including hospitals, schools, and fire stations. The present crisis comes as the Dutch concentrate efforts to, quote, cut carbon emissions. Quote, after shutting down production at the massive Groningen gas fields last year, the Dutch government has pushed a fast transition to electric heating, solar power, and battery storage. The national grid did not grow to demand, creating widespread bottlenecks and increasing costs. It says that, quote, officials estimate 200 billion euros will be needed by 2040 to expand the grid capacity. Electricity prices are already among the highest in Western Europe, and the Dutch households face yearly tariff increase of up to 4.7% for at least the next decade. Citizens are asked not to charge e-bikes and electric cars during the peak usage hours between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. So I just think this is crazy because this is the result, right? I'm switching over here to this B-roll where we can see China just experiencing anomalous weather, floods, and stuff like this, to them saying, oh, well, we're going to have to ration your power because of the world being crazy. It's like, oh, so you jacked with and you messed with the environment, and now we have to have our electricity rationed to where even the electric bikes can't be charged. Well, I thought those were supposed to be safe. I thought those were supposed to be renewable. I thought that was supposed to be dependable. Like, what's up with the sustainable development? Why are we having to ration electricity? Like we're some third world country. Because that's a part of the plan. That's a part of austerity measures. That's a part of Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. Grabbing hold of the natural resources. Getting control of the levers of production and consumption. Putting the hands of natural resources in the hands of government. You see, that's what it's all about. That's why the whole world is under attack. So they can push this garbage. This is it. You see. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea what's going on. I've got no idea what's going on right now. We were broadcasted, we were connecting, we were here streaming, doing all of this with you guys, and then all of a sudden it just did this. So I'm gonna see if I can get connected again, and go from there. Okay, I think we might be back. We hadn't even started talking about satanic ritual abuse yet. Give me 1 second, hold up. All right. I think we might be good for now. You know, I've got no idea what that was about. It says we're still broadcasting. People over here. Let me just check the feeds real quick before we go ahead and proceed, guys. Because that was super weird. Never happened. Had something like that happen. I've had that happen before. Usually whenever we. Okay. So we are showing up over here on Twitter. That's that. Now what about over here? On Rumble and on Telegram. Let's see. Can you hear me now? Haven't had a good kerfuffle like that in a good minute, man. Haven't had a good glitch out like that in a good minute. But we will continue on. Okay. Yeah, I think we have everything we need. Let me just go ahead and make sure everything else is locked in the way it needs to, and then we'll just go ahead and do what we need to, man. MFers try to stop me. You're crazy. Crazy. Anyway. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and just get back into it. You know, nothing else was having a hiccup, just that. This is why we do it. This is why we adapt, improvise, and overcome. Let's go ahead and proceed with the show. Again, sorry for that little kerfuffle, guys. Don't know what that's about, but they really won't stop us. Never really have. Hollywood star Michelle Pfeiffer sounds alarmed. Bill Gates is contaminating our food and water supply. This comes from the People's Voice. They put this up by July 11th. It's by Baxter Dimitri. It says Hollywood icon Michelle Pfeiffer has broken her silence in a new statement that takes direct aim at billionaire Bill Gates and what she describes as his dangerous influence over the U.S. food and water supply. In a rare and urgent Instagram post, the Scarface actress accused Gates of backing a secretive scheme to contaminate organic produce through the rollout of, quote, Appeal, an invisible coating now approved by the FDA, while warning that his next move involves hijacking America's access to clean water. Quote, Appeal, an edible, plant-based coating designed to extend the shelf life of fresh fruits and vegetables, was just approved, and now organic produce is coated in something we cannot see or wash off, Pfeiffer wrote. Very concerning. The Scarface and Batman Returns star shared a video suggesting that the, quote, organic produce is no longer safe, triggering a wave of public concern. So again, this is good stuff. This is the type of stuff we want to see, right? People finally catching up to the fact that Bill Gates is evil. These people are trying to poison us. They have a history of it. They are augmenting us. And as I said before, our modified environment is becoming unstable. And you can look at some of the videos of people that show you like what happens to Appeal, or like an apple, a pear, or something like that. I don't know why we can't see the video she put up or why they didn't put it in here. But if you look at it, it doesn't age. It either doesn't age or it doesn't have seeds or there's just something wrong with it. But I mean, what else would you expect from the person that wants to offer you meatless meat, lab-grown meat, while he himself buys farm lands? What else would you expect from a man that wants to put genetically modifying experiments inside of your beef, your chicken, your cows, your things of this nature? Now they're going after the fruits and vegetables. Realize that this is all setting the stage for somebody like Klaus Schwab to come back and say, you see how your water and your food and everything is toxic? If you just eat the bugs, you'll be much happier. You see this dystopian hellscape these people are trying to create? The altruism, the devastation, the wickedness of them. Let's proceed. Speaking of wickedness, California Governor Gavin Newsom announces funding for new multifamily rental housing after the LA fires. This is something that kind of came out last week, but we see a little bit more of it popping up this week. Again, with this anomalous weather, that's what it's for, destruction and recreation. We see them destroying and modifying the environment to create these brand new smart cities. That's what we went over with you guys just last week, how they're doing that. Los Angeles 2.0. This comes from the Gateway Pundit. They put this up July 9th. It's by Mike LaChance. This says, this week we learned that less than 100 building permits have been issued in Los Angeles 6 months after the destructive wildfires that destroyed entire neighborhoods like the Pacific Palisades. Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom has announced $101 million in funding for the new multifamily rental housing as a solution for housing displaced residents in the area. It almost seems like this was the goal all along. And here's the tweet right here from Governor Gavin Newsom that only has 420 likes. Could be a troll. From the governor's website, it says that Governor Gavin Newsom commits $101 million to jumpstart critical rebuilding efforts after the LA fires. It says that Los Angeles, California, 6 months after the LA fires, Governor Gavin Newsom and the California Department of Housing and Community Development announced the release of $101 million to help rapidly rebuild critically needed, affordable multifamily rental housing in the fire-devastated Los Angeles region. Thousands of families are still displaced by the wildfires that raged through the greater Los Angeles region in January of 2025, placing an incredible strain on an already tight rental market. It says Tamika Moss, Secretary of the California Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency, said, quote, the state's special multifamily finance super NOFA will galvanize a collective public-private response to the wildfires in Los Angeles County, expediting and expanding opportunities to build affordable housing for low-income residents. By prioritizing affordable housing projects that are ready to go, these funds will accelerate household stability, climate, and health outcomes in the communities. This seems like a lot of garbage just to say we're giving money to people to build off of, to build on the ashes. But this is what it was all along. This is what a lot of people talked about at the time. We all talk about it. What do you think is going to happen in Maui, Lahaina, East Palestine, Ohio? This is what happens. They destroy like beautiful areas. Oh no, like they destroy beautiful areas with these unnatural environmental disasters that occur. They come through, have their pity party, announce funding, and we went over this just last week. They create the smart cities, 15-minute cities, coffin apartments, multifamily rental units, things of this nature. Little domed enclosures. But you see, it'll be more affordable than the house you have now. The house you have now could be worth $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. Bam, fire comes through. It's not worth anything anymore. They put up a multifamily housing unit, an apartment or something like that. You think that's going to increase the value of your house? No, boom, you're out of it. That's what they want. They don't want you to own anything. They want you to be a slave. They want you to be broken. And that's how they're doing it. That's how they're able to get this done in the background. You see, that's why we've got Idaho splitting in half. volcanoes erupting, floods happening, intense fires, all of these different things occurring so they can build on the ashes. See, this is just confirmation of what we were just going over. Another, quote, conspiracy theory confirmed. California moves to seize the fire-ravaged Palisades for low-income housing. But who do you think that's going to be for? If they're getting rid of all of the immigrants, who do you think those new houses are going to be for? Those low-income houses. Who do you think they're going to import to replace the people they're taking out? Again, this is just the intro and the honorable mentions, just to kind of get the show started, to say, hey, this is all going on in the background. We'll get to Trump, we'll get to Epstein, we'll get to satanic ritual abuse, we'll get to the global experiment, we'll get to the deportations, we'll get to it all. But first, here's some documents from the CIA that are being declassified talking about flat Earth.
Of the Institute of Physics of the Earth. This next point I found extremely interesting. Official documentation claiming the Earth is flat, and that mathematical equations used in aeronautics assume a flat, non-rotating Earth. Check these out. This is a CIA document sourced from the Russians, and it's titled Dissertations Defended in the Scientific Council of the Institute of Physics of the Earth. In the document, it mentions a near sun and a formula that is derived on the assumption of a flat Earth. This United States Army document from the Army Research Laboratory on the propagation of electromagnetic fields over flat Earth mentions transmitters placed on the surface of a flat, idealized Earth. In one of its figures, it also mentions flat Earth. In another Army Research Laboratory document, it depicts a diagram showing a flat Earth, crepuscular rays that we mentioned earlier, and a near and localized sun. Here's another document on projectile flight dynamics, and the equations in the document assume a flat Earth. Here's a NASA document on the derivation and definition of a linear aircraft model. Introduction. This report details the development of the linear model of rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. NASA document on the SR-71 Blackbird and its top speed of 2,193 miles per hour. Maneuvers depending on a non-turbulent atmosphere and a non-rotating Earth. Federal Aviation Administration document. Equations of motion assuming a flat, non-rotating Earth. Another NASA document. A rigid aircraft flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. An aircraft model for the AIAA Controlled Design Challenge. Flight dynamics of a rigid aircraft flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. NASA Technical Paper 1285, Flat, Non-Rotating Earth. The NASA Georgia Tech project in conjunction with the U.S. Air Force. A model frequently used is that of a flat, non-rotating Earth. You might argue that some of these documents are taken out of context, but you have to admit that a lot of these flight calculations are based on a flat, non-rotating Earth because they come right out and say it.
Could be. You tell me. The reason I dropped that in this section here is because, well, if we do live in a flat, non-rotating Earth, if we are all in one terrarium, one ecosystem, one biosphere, you can't affect one part of the biosphere without affecting another. You can't have, if you have like a fish tank, you can't affect one part of it without all of them being affected. That's why you have to have harmony, balance, and ecosystem. NASA was designed to hide people from God. Let's go ahead and proceed. Let's go ahead and talk about these Yellowstone occurrences that we see taking place. What would happen if Yellowstone erupted?
Apparently this week, there was very erratic data at the super volcano of Yellowstone.
So I don't want to scare anyone or cause a mass panic right now, but we need to talk about Yellowstone. This is a seismograph, and this measures the vibrations in the Earth's surface. This was taken from Yellowstone on June 1st, and this is what it normally looks like. We have tiny little ticks running all the time, and those are just little micro tremors in the ground. But on June 20th, some weird activity started happening. And just wait for it. This is today, July 3rd. Let me just play it back for you. This is what it should look like, and this is what it looks like today. Now, unless you live under a rock, you know that Yellowstone is a supervolcano. According to researchers, it erupts around every 600,000 years, and you guessed it, we're at 640,000 years right now.
What would happen to the world if the Yellowstone volcano erupted? Most people don't know that.
Oof. Okay, well, I wanted to play that so we could get the clip of her talking about what's going on with these seismic disturbances, right? You hear me talk. You hear me talk about, like, aetheric energy and telluric energy. That telluric energy, that seismograph, what's happening underground is really going to affect what's happening on the surface, right? We talk about grounding, ley lines, things of this nature, because it is ultimately nature that we're talking about being in this biosphere. I honestly think we missed this first part of this video. Let's go ahead and play this where they talk about what would happen if it exploded, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Is absolutely massive.
Every 600,000 years, and you guessed it, we're at 640,000 years right now.
What would happen to the world if the Yellowstone volcano erupted? Most people don't know that there is a supervolcano beneath this lake, which is in Yellowstone Park, which is located in Wyoming, which is in the US. The Yellowstone volcano is absolutely massive, as it's 37 miles long, 18 miles wide, and 4 miles deep. So if it were to erupt, the surrounding states of Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming that are closest to Yellowstone would be affected by pyroclastic flows, while other places in the United States would be impacted by falling ash. The amount of ash would decrease with distance from the eruption site, and due to the smoke emitted into the atmosphere, a lot of sunlight would end up reflecting back into space. This means that the entire Earth would cool by at least 10 degrees for at least 10 years.
Is that what the summer freeze is all about?
Oof. So there you have it again. This is what's going on. Seismic activity, geoengineering, weather modification, potential blacking out of the sun. And again, I'm just showing what's popped up on my newsfeed this week. Here's another video showing about animals evacuating Yellowstone.
Leaving Yellowstone. Did you guys see that all of the animals are leaving Yellowstone National Park? They're all making their way, leaving Yellowstone National Park. I keep telling you guys, the earth is groaning, the earth is showing signs. Everything is shifting in the atmosphere. The sky is different. Everything is different, and everyone can feel it. Jesus is returning soon. The earth is showing signs. It is making it known in the water, in the sky, in the parks, in the animals. Nature is crying out. Nature is showing us that something is happening. None of this is conspiracy. This is all true. This is all factual. All of this is happening because the Lord is returning soon, and he is giving us signs. And if you don't heed to these warnings, that is on you. I hope you guys understand that he is coming soon.
Yeah, I wish I could say I don't agree, but I definitely do agree. I definitely see all of these signs and wonders as a sign of his return. Here is another Yellow Park animal migration video.
Parks, it's on one of the largest active volcanoes. Well, this is a little scary. So I've started to see a lot of videos about Yellowstone. Yellowstone National Park sits on one of the largest active volcanoes in the world. Well, over the past few weeks, all the animals have started to evacuate Yellowstone. Go look it up. First, they had mountain lions leaving, in a pack. Then they had all the bears, grizzly bears, which are solitary animals, are leaving in packs. No one's ever seen this. Then herds of buffalo are running down the road, trying to get the fuck out of Yellowstone. Then this morning I saw a fucking herd of elk is leaving Yellowstone. Animals know when shit's about to go down. I just started thinking about that movie 2012. I feel like every time I turn on my phone, it's is today the day? Floods, volcanoes, wars. What the fuck is going to happen next? I'm ready to turn this motherfucker off for a while.
Yeah, I think we're all feeling that way, but I think we all can sense, what's coming. And that's why I'm glad that they showed the seismograph, the seismic activity. what's going on underneath us, because that's even more important. Animals, they have that magnetic sense. They're tuned into things a little bit differently than us. We all know that. We're not trying to learn from them. Why are they running? Where are they running to? What is stability for them? You see, what are their instincts telling them to do? This is, again, coming off of the heels of the July 4th geoengineering attack against the entire world. So we're not the only ones that are affected by these things. Animals know. And if they're moving, what are we being guided towards? What are we being told to ignore? You see, all of this is the type of stuff that I start thinking of. But here, let's play another couple clips of more animals leaving Yellowstone National Park.
Did you hear the latest news coming out of Yellowstone National Park just this morning? All the bison buffaloes started leaving, a mass exodus from the park. And it's not just like one clan, it's the entire populancer of the bison buffaloes. You got woman buffalo, male buffalo, man buffalo, and baby buffaloes. It's all of them. And it's baffling the scientific community. We know last week the mountain lions and the grizzly bear populancers left in their entirety, headed to Salt Lake City, Utah. And then a few days ago, the elk started leaving. And the scientists are saying, why are all these creature critters fleeing Yellowstone? And they can't quite get to the bottom of it. I called my cousin who works at PetSmart in the fish section. I said, what do we know about buffalo bisons and what's going on here? And she said, one, they're really big and they can be dangerous, which I thought was super neat, to be respectful of naturage. And second, she said there used to be a lot more of them across the U.S., but then the colonizer populancers came and decimated them, which is quite sad. They said this one's too old, so it's staying behind. It actually jumped into the Old Faithful geyser and died of a fatality death. And they think that it just, because it realizes it's too old to make the journey down to Salt Lake. I don't know. It's super mysterious. What do you think of all this? What do you make of it? What do you think is happening? Why do you think these animalages are fleeing Yellowstone National Park?
Bro's out here trolling, like Omega level trolling, talking to his cousin over here at the PetSmart or whatever. Yeah, no, this is strange. This is strange. No matter how you slice it, it's
now elk are leaving Yellowstone National Park in droves, thousands and thousands of them. They're following the grizzly bears and the mountain lions that started leaving last week, and it is baffling the scientific community. They can't explain why all these animalage creature critters are fleeing Yellowstone National Park. You can see them here crossing those safely. You have men elk and women elk. The women elk don't have antlers. That's how you can tell the difference. But I called the park president, the head ranger, Joe Montana is his name, not to be confused with the football player. He said he's sick of people confusing him for the football player. And I said, what is going on? And he said, we don't know. We've hired a Dr. Remy Deemy to help us get to the bottom of it. But it's paused our $7 million plan to introduce spider monkeys to the park. They had a project to introduce spider monkeys because he said everyone in the U.S. loves monkeys. We don't have them in the wilderness.
Here comes the troll. All right, I think we got it. There goes the troll. That's everything we need there. Mostly, let's just get this B-roll footage of seeing, elk, bear, buffalo, wolves, whatever's out there, just fleeing in droves. I mean, that's incredible. No matter how you slice it, this is the kind of crazy stuff that's going on. These are the animals trying to escape, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. Again, because they're intricately tied to the land. They can sense when something's off. And that's what the seismograph showed. The seismic activity was all over the place. And as somebody that's a huge energy individual, that's really into vibes, energy, the ether, understanding that, I just think about that discharged, that raw energy just being shot and dispersed all over the place, and what that's doing, again, like the Schumann resonance and how we're tied into that, the heartbeat of the planet, so much more. And let's go ahead and move over here to this final clip where they have mile-long cracks appearing in Idaho. Again, we covered this just last week, but there's more footage coming out, and I think it's just crazy because the literal earth is splitting up, and they just want us to focus on Donald Trump.
and how long they stretch. Over the course of the last month now, have you heard about what's going on in Idaho in the northwestern United States? Because a lot more people should be talking about this right now. Over the course of the last month now, I've noticed locals from all over the northwestern United States showing huge cracks appearing in the ground. Now these cracks, and you can find many videos of them, especially with farmers that have been tracking a lot of them and how long they stretch, almost every single time stretch for miles. And I mean literally miles. But the weirdest part is that people for weeks, if not months now, have been hearing loud booms underground, a lot of times specifically next to where these cracks are appearing. And a farmer actually used a device that estimated how deep some of these cracks go. In one area that stretched up to at least 4 football fields long, the cracks went down over 100 feet deep. Not just that, but I noticed that they used a camera to go down into the cracks as well. And when they did, they noticed a lot of different tunnel ways going back and forth inside of the cracks. Some of which they're saying allegedly stretch to different large areas that have cracks in the ground as well. Not just that, but there's a creator that's on TikTok that's been tracking these for a while. And he actually used a camera of his own to go down into these cracks just much deeper. And when he got near the bottom, he discovered that there is a shit ton of mud and water underneath. Now, while the mud might be expected, that is an excessive amount of water. I'm sure everybody's aware by now of what happened with Africa. But regardless, if you live in the northwestern United States and you have any of these cracks that are appearing, please get in touch with me. Because I want to put as much information as I possibly can out there, because let's be honest, this is kind of serious.
Yeah, that's extremely serious. Kind of crazy too when you think about it. Like literal cracks opening up that are just like miles long. Like audio listeners, you guys can't see it. I would highly recommend you do so if you have the time. But it's just, it looks like something out of like a movie. Like it looks surreal to just see like a crack just stretching through land, like something that you would, go hiking on, and there's just a crack in the ground. And they're saying more and more of these are popping up all over the place. They're hearing large booms, cavern systems underneath. I mean, what has been another thing that we've been talking about throughout the entirety of the season so far? Cryptoterrestrials, intraterrestrials, people that live inside the earth, things of this nature. It's like this is all going on simultaneously. Like our environment is just all over the place. Our modified environment is becoming unstable. And look at what is yielding: cracks in the ground, extreme seismic activity, animals migrating in droves. It's like were the animals in Yellowstone? Were they able to feel the earth splitting? Did the seismographs catch that splitting occurring, and the animals felt it and ran away? This is the type of stuff that we have to think about in 2025. Yeah, they might be stopping the chemtrails, they might be stopping the weather modification, but look at what's happening still. The ricochet effects, the droughts. I mean, I don't know if this is caused by a drought. I don't know if this is caused by Elon Musk's boring company. We don't know if this is some of those deep underground military bases being exploded. Because that's also a component to all of this as well. That's why this is called the intro and the honorable mentions, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we do this, just to kind of get the show started, right? We get the hiccups out of the way, we get the glitches out of the way, we get the proper, introductions out of the way, and then we get into the meat and potatoes of the real show, right? That was me just said, hey, look at what's going on in the environment, look at what's happening. Whales washing up on beaches, volcanoes erupting, animals migrating, floods carrying cars down, floods wiping away entire cities. We're like, what's crazy is this is why people say that we're experiencing a pole shift. This is why they say it's the Great Reset. This is why the environmentalist wackos are trying to position themselves to oversee this massive societal shift and everything that comes with it as if they are the saviors. They know full well what they've done and what they're doing. But here's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a little bit of a break. And when we come back, we're going to dive head first straight into satanic ritual abuse. We're going to be having Marina Abramovich, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, Jim Cavazzo, and many other individuals just help break down where we are in 2025. And I think that's very important, right? The same way that we can see like the compounding effects of weather modification and what it's doing to our present day reality over the years of them doing it. We also need to look at how we now find ourselves having people like Courtney Tamagni, this police chief's daughter, getting out here talking very casually about how she was a victim of just that, satanic ritual abuse. We'll be talking about these things and more on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This is Freedom Faction over here on Factions of Freedom. And we'll be right back right after this.
The Luciferian engineers can't stop the true awakening happening. The Lord God lights the way. Stay vigilant. Found yourself outside of the Matrix. Join Factions of Freedom today. Expose their lies and share the truth.
There is no such thing as its freedom. There is no such thing as democracy. Please stop listening to the mainstream media. Please stop listening to the Western world speaking about United Nations, human rights. This is evil. Nonsense. They have enslaved the human race under the banner of human rights. I beg you, they have enslaved the human being under the banner of human rights. There is no freedom in the world. The world is placed in the bosom of Satan, the killer of mankind. A snake, the poisonous cobra. Satan likes to do things in disguise, in quietness, in the depth. But the Lord forced him to surface up. He wants humanity to see. He's opening the eyes of those who are willing to listen to Christ. Those who are willing to listen to Christ, He is opening your eyes. What has been happening in recent years, it is absolute satanic. But all done in the name of human rights, democracy, United Nation.